Hi, everybody. This is Adam Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology, and these are your horoscopes for the month of March 2019. So this is the horoscope, Sun and Rising, for Taurus. I'm going to go ahead and share my chart on the screen here for you guys. All right, so the month gets off to a fast start with Venus in the ninth house. There's a lot of planets stacked up in the ninth to begin the month for you. For Tauruses, making a square to Uranus in the sign of Aries in the 12th house. So Venus in the ninth house, you have the idea of higher principles, higher agreements, relations that bind you through common beliefs or ideals or commitments, whether they're philosophical, ethical, spiritual, moral, political. Talking about Venus, love, relationships, harmony, agreement, friendship in the house of belief, faith, trust, and higher principles. Making a square to disruptive and potentially rebellious Uranus in the 12th house. That can sometimes mean that there is something of a philosophical, diplomatic crisis. You want to be very careful about breaking from the breaking from the herd, even if you feel like you need to, in a way that's destructive. But you also are thinking about the potential for some kind of enlightening perspective that could break you out of relationships where there are not enough common bonds of belief, philosophical, spiritual, religious, or moral agreement. So this could help you shake up relationships that aren't rooted in enough sort of the same vision for life. But you also, again, want to be careful about kind of defying authority or breaking up relationships unexpectedly due to a lack of ethical concern for the other or out of what I'm trying to say is if you need to break out of some kind of agreement or some kind of a relationship, do so ethically, do so with integrity. So, okay, try to communicate that. All right, so on March 6th, next big transit of the month, we see a new moon in the sign of Pisces in your 11th house. Let me use a better drawing tool here. New moon in Pisces in your 11th house, conjoined with Neptune while Mercury is turning retrograde, stationing to turn retrograde. The lunar cycle ahead is therefore toned by the conjunction of the new moon with Neptune, which is very powerful in terms of all the kind of the theme of reality and fantasy, imagination, myth, metaphor, the desire to merge with something bigger, the need for a larger sense of unity within a group or in the 11th house with friends or with colleagues or with regard to a larger dream or vision that you have for your life. But all is not as it seems. Mercury's turning retrograde in its fall. Neptune's involved. The potential to join a cult or to, go crazy with some kind of vision or getting involved in a social circle that feels really good, but you can't necessarily see the long-term consequences right away. So you just want to use a healthy level of discernment, careful judgment when getting on board with big, fantastic things in social settings, 11th house, or when cooking up new dreams for the future, 11th house. At the same time, there is legitimately here a sense of a vision, a dream, some kind of spiritual connection with other people, an imaginative artistic inspiration coming through in your social life. It may be very legitimate. Just be careful because the boundary between truth and fiction may be a little blurry this month. But overall, the moon cycle ahead has a lot to do with groups of people, organizations, and people who are coming together to unite behind a common vision or goal. Okay, so on March 6th, the other thing that happens, which is huge for Tauruses, is the planet Uranus enters your home sign and first house, where it will now stay all the way until about 2026. So Uranus, planet of disruption, rebellion, emancipation, but also shock and disruption, entering your first house, your paradigm is changing. It may be a great moment of personal revolution for you, or of needing to break free from something that's oppressive and start redefining yourself. So don't be surprised if there is a sense of needing to recreate yourself that starts pouring in this month. But again, it lasts for quite some time. And, all Tauruses are going to experience, all Taurus or Taurus rising, going to experience that Uranus transit more powerfully at different times. Always check in with your birth chart to see when it might be exact. For example, when it's going over the degree of your ascendant in your birth chart, very powerful time. Or when it's making powerful aspects to planets in Taurus in your first house, any conjunctions that it make or something like that. Or even when it makes squares or oppositions as well. So that's also happening on March 6th. It's a big deal. You got a little taste of it last May through November when Uranus went into Taurus. It's backed out since November. It's coming back now. Now, between March 14th and the 19th, you're then going to see Mars, which is in your home sign right now, moving through trines to Saturn and Pluto. This is in your ninth house again, a place that is associated with your higher beliefs, principles, religion, spirituality, long journeys, etc. So Mars in this place, in your first house, it could mean anything from you're dealing with health issues, or you are laboring through something. You are going to work out at the gym a lot. You're feeling more assertive and aggressive. Whatever it is, Mars is kind of firing you up right now a bit. And then connecting by trine to Saturn and Pluto in the ninth house, there is a personal level of healthy, constructive confrontation with teachers, with your beliefs or your values, your ideals. You might be working through something that's a little philosophical this month, and it might be a little bit of a labor. But I think the potential, because we're looking at some nice trines here, is for there to be a higher degree of clarity and focus, understanding your own motivations, understanding your own beliefs, and working to express and embody them in the world. You might also be ready to implement something new this month that comes from the work that you're doing on a more philosophical or even intellectual level. So that's the 14th through the 19th. Then on the 20th, this is really interesting. So on the 20th into the 21st, the sun will enter Aries. It's a spring equinox and conjoin with Chiron in the 12th house. Now, this has the feeling of a moment of deeper healing, potential insight and illumination coming into your life, that because the sun in the 12th house brings illumination, wisdom, and higher intelligence, and Chiron is the wound, the wound that we keep dealing with, or sometimes Chiron is related to higher level of mastery or wisdom that we attain in some particular field or practice. You may find that your unique gifts are being called upon right now. You could also find that you're going through a profound moment of healing or deeper personal insight, as the 12th house often involves kind of visiting that deeper shadow territory, you might say. And with Sun and Chiron, though, in that house, I like it as a moment of profound revelation, greater understanding, developing and cultivating awareness of things that might like to hide out if you're not consciously, if you're not being self-reflective, if you're not trying to be conscious. But this is a moment that can help you get in and kind of see what's going on. I think the possibility for this moment to create something of a spiritual awakening for you is really strong. I think it goes along with the theme of you kind of working out your sense of identity and higher beliefs this month. And there's a wound that has to be examined in the process, I believe. So that is on the 20th into the 21st. Same time, there's a full moon in the 6th house, which also suggests some adversity in the month ahead, some healing, some some degree of karmic justice that you might be going through a little bit. Moon is in Libra, the scales of harmony, and also the scales that are used in some ways to judge between things. And in the sixth house, which is traditionally called the house of misfortune, and it was called the joy of Mars. The sixth house has a lot to do with things that come into our life and sort of interrupt or aggravate. They don't devastate, but typically they're like things that we sort of have to battle through, we contend with. A moment of having to contend with things around the full moon, around the 20th, 21st. But I think a helpful interlude overall. Remember, the full moon's dispositor this month is your ruling planet Venus, who's in the 10th house. All month long, having Venus in the 10th house, your career house, should mean that you're shining, that people are taking notice of you, or that you're hitting your stride in some way. But there are some hardships you're working through this month, maybe related to health, maybe related to dramas at work, possibly maybe family-related things. Some of that going on maybe with that full moon as well. But the full moon has this kind of a more intense moment of personal healing around the spring equinox. So full moon, spring equinox happening right at the same time too, which is kind of rare. So that's pretty neat. The exact same time, you'll see that your ruling planet Venus is actually square to Mars from 10 to 1. So there's that kind of personal confrontation that you're having. Maybe something, it's very personal. It's also work related, a statement that you're trying to make, some kind of tension in relationships that happen both at work and it's very personal. So diplomacy is a must this month. It's very easy with Mercury retrograde hanging around Neptune all month for things to become misperceived or miscommunicated. And you'll see that too by the end of the month, the 24th through the 29th. You've got Venus is going to enter Pisces. Mercury will go retrograde through a conjunction with Neptune station and then turn direct by the end of the month, going through the conjunction with Neptune one more time. So again, there is something very otherworldly happening this month for Taurians. A lot of synchronicities, especially with the Mercury Neptune conjunction and Venus in the 11th. Beautiful connections with other people this month, almost otherworldly, new inspiration and maybe new dreams for the future coming in, but maybe some lack of clarity and the potential for some degree of deception, miscommunication, fantasy that's there a little bit as well. So try to be as discerning as possible, because I get the feeling that this month you're trying to work down to your inner core. You're trying to see what's true, what you really believe. But it could be easy to get swept up in a sort of idealism, and also could be some challenges for personal healing that come along this month as well. So anyway, that's what I've got for you, Taurus. I hope this was interesting. I hope you have a beautiful month of March. I'm off to India at the end of this week, and then I'll be back. So that's why I'm doing these early. But then we'll see you again for April's horoscopes. Okay, take care. Bye.